Okay, what's up, everyone? Where is the energy? Still energy? Yeah? Yes. Hey, some energy. Very good, very good, very good. Cool, cool, cool. Let's do it. For a moment, I thought I was actually like doing some kind of like talk here, like a lecture kind of, but I was happy that the chair arrived. Let's do a quick round of like intros. DeFi Saver, I love the logo. You guys want to start?
Okay, thank you. Welcome, guys. Welcome to Belgrade. Happy to be here with you. I'm local here. So yeah, I'm Žarko from DeFi Saver. I work as a product designer for the last maybe 3 years. So it's been great so far. We've been in the space for a while. So yeah, happy to talk to you guys today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sasha. I'm a contributor at Lido, and I'm contributing to Lido DAO infrastructure stream, working mostly with off-chain infrastructure around Lido DAO. And yeah, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tuti. I'm product designer at Curve. Before that, I've been working with Olympus DAO and JPEG DAO as well. Yeah, I've been in the space for a while, trying to design better UX for users in general. Happy to be here as well.
Hi, everyone. Maria from CowDAO. I do people operations and recruitment. And for those who are not familiar with CowDAO, CowDAO is decentralized autonomous organization of developers, market makers, and community members with the mission and vision to provide the most user-friendly and protective products in the ecosystem. We have 3 products: Cow Protocol with Cow Swap UI on top of it, MEV Blocker, and CowIM, which is a liquidity pool. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Cool. What's up, everyone? I'm Francesco. I'm leading developer relation at ConsenSys, so that's the mother umbrella at Infura, MetaMask, and Linea. And yeah, I'm excited about DeFi, leading this panel, contributing to this panel, and let's get it started. So this is a very specific kind of like panel around DeFi UX, right? So barrier to entry, like you are a newcomer around kind of like DeFi. What do you think are kind of like the major kind of like UX gap that you think are around? Could be like users, and then we can move a little bit to developers.
Well, on my side, I would maybe go on a limb and say that I don't believe that UI is subpar to the Web2 world. And honestly, I believe that there's a lot of really good UX designers, UI designers in the space, and I believe that they are quite flexible, quite quick to implement every underlying technology and make an optimal experience in that sense. I believe that on a psychological side, I feel like with my peers, sometimes they feel like they miss the train, so they don't even get to the opportunity to test out some of these tools. And then, I don't know, price drops, and then they're like, okay, it's good that I didn't test this at all. So there's a lot of different things. Obviously, the thing that is a hurdle is you needing to remember a seed phrase, and you don't need to do that in fintech. So it's pretty much that's maybe an obvious answer, but again, those will be kind of maybe the main points that I see. So it's a somewhere between psychological and also these unfamiliar UX experiences. They don't have passwords. Obviously, the technology underlying is changing and it's adapting, but I don't feel honestly that the UI is as it is a huge hurdle.
What do you think is the biggest hurdle right now around DeFi?
Yeah, I don't know. I would say it's probably the underlying technology. So it's great that the things are happening, and we have now the Pectra updates, which will make sure that EOA accounts are more powerful. On the other hand, we also see account abstraction that helps, again, chain abstraction, stuff like that. So all the things that they're helping us move out of the user's way all those complexities and just create a more seamless experience. So that's one of my thought.
I would like to add, if I look at from the side of the user, that's actually what you mentioned. about the complexity. Most of the products are still very, very complex when request and require people to really dive deeper into the UX. And for those 5% who are already in the space, maybe it works because most of them, they're technical, they're familiar. But if we are moving towards the mass adoption, what we actually would love to do in the space and to ensure that there are more and more users using the products, I believe the complexity, it's one of those things which should be reduced, simpler UI, and people don't need to think when they go to the UI what they need to click, how do they need to click. And that's also related to the education. I don't mean only by the courses or that they need to, go to do some projects to learn more about the space, but simpler in the application, guide them to explain what the feature is for, how to move to another one, what is the risk behind, to remove actually the risk, to have better security for the users so they don't need to think about that. And my personal opinion, the solution should be very complex. So it's not only one thing which doesn't work about the UX, but very, very complex solution, which, for example, also includes the security to make the smart contracts more open for the regulations, let's say, which is another pain point for the users. They are just afraid, many of them, the new one especially, they don't know what's going on. They're afraid to lose their private key or just the idea if they sign the wrong transaction, they wouldn't receive their money back. That already scares them. So again, I see it, if I can sum it up, as a complex solution and take it seriously. If you want to come closer to the mass adoption and see that there is not only 5% which are in the space, but 55. If I'm a dreamer, 80.
Yeah, I think to jump on what you said, the assumption, or I guess the users that we get now are basically the explorers, the early adopters. They've been trying things out. They went through the effort of learning the different technicalities that were needed to actually get on chain and use it. Some of them burned themselves, some others didn't. But ultimately, they're all like testers. But as you say, if we want people to actually use them and normal people to use them, so the first use is basically payment. And as you said, it should be very clear that a simple payment is something very easy to execute. Getting money on chain is something very easy to execute. But then there's this whole DeFi aspect. And I feel that one of the assumptions that we have as builders and as people in the space is people are willing to actually come and learn all the money games and actually educate themselves on economics, right? And economic games. But as you said, I'd guess 95% of people are not interested in that. They just want a simple savings account. They want to make sure that the money gets there. They want to earn a little bit. Perhaps they want to gamble a bit if they want to. But most people don't want that. So it's also about making sure that we have complex products that allow to support very simple use cases.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that the problem itself is complex, and the solution is complex as well, because we're talking about UX in the DeFi, and it's not just we are discussing like some web application that allows you to use the blockchain, but it's like a multi-step process. You have an onboarding and seed phrase generation and wallet settings and everything like around your one's personal let's say account, and you have the interaction with numerous applications. And the solutions, the problems are different, and solutions are different as well. And I agree that solution should be complex, and it should be on shoulders of builders who wants to see this mass adoption and who wants to basically, I think, in like a big picture is we need to hide everything behind the curtain. So user will only see what they need to see. And thankfully, we have like DeFi. It's very modular. And depending on use case for different users, we can show more or show less, and it's only on users to decide how much will they see, they want to see.
Do you feel like we will solve that by upgrading kind of interfaces? You know, people launching all the time like V2. Do you think this is enough, or we should rethink completely, like you know, DeFi architectures, right? Now that 7702 is around, through kind of like could be session keys, through direct smart accounts and smart contracts level upgrades. So abstracting even more the way, but also giving more entry points for problems, right? Like 7702 also brought a lot of like, we even have MetaMask delegation toolkit, and we see delegator being hacked more than actually people that get delegated accounts. Super interesting. So abstracting more risk. But my question here is very simple. Like, you know, is the interface upgrade helping you more, or reducing features on a front end, helping more the users, or you think we should kind of like rethink more on the architectural lower layer?
Yeah, I think that like it's a continuous process. It happens like every day. The DeFi is changing, and we have a lot of new stuff, and some stuff is changing. But I think the answer is both, because we'll have different interfaces in future, and we'll have different architectures in future. And right now, I think we're trying to figure it out how it will look like.
Yeah, I think like it's also both ways. We have like extremely simple apps, like cow swaps, for example. It's very simple. The action that a user needs to take is very simple. And for it, there is not that much of a discovery process that a user needs to take, right? Basically, they have the ability to do a swap, token goes up, they have the ability to do the swap in the other direction, they made money, fantastic. Or they exited because token went down and they regret it a little bit. There's the ability to do limit orders as well, that was introduced later. And that lets people basically to discover a little bit more. But then that kind of limits it as well. But what I'm trying to get to is a lot of the UIs that we have right now, they assume like that you're already a level 10 and that you understand everything. And where I think that there is something that can be done with UIs is to basically make them seemingly simple while allowing the user to discover more and more of the utility. So not having pages that are filled with metrics, for example, and numbers that a starting user wouldn't get, but allowing them to open a panel, discover an extra metric, understand what it does, so that they can basically level up as they're using the product. And this is something, I guess, that we all need to work on a bit more, so that, yeah, so that you don't start at level 10 in front of the final boss, but more like at the first level and the training ground.
So to piggyback on that, I would completely agree. I say this is to provide the contextual information just in time when you need it, and to do it in also a gradual way. It's what I also think. On the other hand, I would also say that probably the jargons that we use and the terminologies that we use, it's good that I think that kind of industry is coming to kind of like a consensus, like how should we call some things in DeFi space. So it's good that we have a same language that we all talk. So the users, when they learn something on X protocol, then on the other protocols, it's also the same thing. So they don't get more confused. Obviously, kind of I believe that a good way is also the dApps, which aggregate things, not to force. So I mean, obviously I'm from DeFi Saver, so yeah. But it's honestly what we believe it makes sense, because then we try and fit all the complexities into proper categories, and do a good hierarchy of information, stuff like that, so the users kind of can learn the patterns and also, of course, always reconsider things that you're putting in, always be looking at what's new at on the base levels, and just be flexible and quick to adapt. So it's what I feel is important.
Yeah, I think at the end we're speaking about user convenience, right? And maybe a question here to follow up that we touch a little bit like security side is, how at the end, in each of respective case, but in general also like how we can think about trade-offs between all the user convenience side and also like the decentralization. I think that's also like one part because we start to see like 100% prover layer 2s, bundlers, centralizing discoveries, protocol level changes that are taking responsibility to defend transaction to the users, meaning also it's somehow censorship resistance also. But how you guys think about this kind of like trade-offs?
I can take this one. So it depends on what security side are you looking for? Like, are you talking from the user side or from the protocols itself? I believe we need to come closer and to improve it from the both sides. First of all, to ensure that the products are secured and the users are like, they don't need to even think about that, because for the users, security is one of the biggest issues. In case of CowSwap, the way how we resolve the security, we take literally all the risk from the users when they swap on CowSwap and delegate it to the sophisticated party who are bearing this risk, right? So I would like to see more and more products who are taking off the responsibility from the users, so they don't need to worry about it, they don't need to think about that, and when they go to the platform or they use any of those products, they feel safe and protective from the protocol side itself.
So basically like it's a delegation of responsibility to the protocol side, right?
Correct, and somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, I think perhaps to leverage on that, it also depends the types of users you're targeting, right? So there are many different actors in the space. For some of them, actually keeping things extremely simple, right, and making it just about payment, just about the swap. For these users, the assumption would be that they are ready to delegate a lot of this complexity and the security to others, right? But then you have more sophisticated actors in the space, and they actually need to manage their security themselves for legal reasons, because of ideologies as well. So in this case, they would be ready to do that. And to come back to your comment about decentralization, like, do we care or not? I think there's like different levels of users that care and users that do not. Ultimately, what we need to make sure of is that the foundation upon which everything is built by users who actually really care about this decentralization, so they can empower all the users that don't really need it.
Yeah, I really agree. Like I'm like personalized experiences are something that, I mean, it's not just a discovery, but it's something that we see much more and more. I mean, I think like 2 days ago, we announced the acquisition of Web3 Auth around embedded wallets. We saw like majority of like SSO and social logins are around. People, especially on gamings, that want to go through kind of like low level kind of logins, and they want to delegate also responsibility on the private key. That's why I think delegation, social recovery, those are all different things. But I also agree on the DeFi side, there is a lot of like fine-tuned experiences that we should build, right? Like when you start kind of like getting in very basic transactions. I don't know if you have example of who is doing well this kind of like discovery and kind of like division on the DeFi user side. If you have some example, also feel free to jump in, right? But definitely there are some protocols that understand better the difference between these type of users, because sometimes you get so overwhelmed, right? When you start to say, okay, I just want to stake something, I just want to restake something, and then you get in some kind of like, yeah, it's quite complex.
Yeah, I guess the one example that I have in mind that did a good job at onboarding on something that was quite a complex product, Pendle, did it pretty well with their Pendle Academy. Although I must say I go back to it and I every time have to reread it to make sure that I understand it well. But I think they were probably the first app that I've seen that really took the time into building some sort of onboarding. Also because they came up with a novel or a seemingly novel product at the time, and they were the first one that got to this scale. So I think, yeah, they're one of the good examples. But I think there's also quite something that could be done with integrating also chatbots in the UIs that help users or that help guide the users or answer questions, because all the protocols now, they all have really good docs. They can read the contracts and all the protocols. Protocols should focus on their docs as well.
Not all.
Not all.
Not all.
But quite
Have a good dog, so.
but quite a few do. At Curve, we literally have a team that are dedicated just to doing docs. But yeah, so having good docs is something. Expecting that users will go and read them is not something. But having them integrated somehow in the apps so that users can get guided, this is something that would be very nice. And I think like it comes back a bit to this guided experience that you were talking about. Hopefully this is something that will come.
Yeah, and to add more on doc side, and yeah, I agree, and I think that docs are very important. And about the decentralization and convenience trade-offs, I have one example that I think is really good. Lido is a protocol that is being governed by DAO, and all decisions, like implementations of decisions, are going through decentralized and voting platform. So every protocol change is an on-chain vote, and they are sometimes really big. They consist of multiple items that might be hard to read, and for some token holders it's hard to figure it out. Sometimes it's even hard for Lido contributors to figure out what's going on and what will be what's in the vote. And our DAO Ops team has preparing follow-up documents for every vote, explaining each step, each parameter, and each action that will take place in the vote. So yeah, I think it's a good example.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe to add on that, like as an underlying principle, what I believe in is that you should make simple things easy and complex things possible, because I guess more advanced users, they find their way around. They would go out on the limb, go through documentations, inspect elements, and who knows whatever, explore block explorers and stuff like that to get all the information that would possibly be in the world. So like good examples of UIs are obviously kind of like dexes that have, of course, they have an advanced switch. So pretty much just show me like how much this will cost. Don't give me information in gray, but put it in the dollars so that I understand like how much that will actually cost. And then if I want to work on slippage and stuff and fine tune everything else, it's good that I'll probably find then the advanced model and stuff like that. So that's what I see actually that's also happening. But
yeah, everybody that I'm asking around slippage, like most of the people doesn't care, right? But there is a lot. Impermanent loss is also one another.
Lost, yeah.
MEVs, like there is a lot of things. What are the things that you will kind of like abstract the ways that you think they're not necessary for the average users?
To know, you mean? It's not necessary for them to understand how it works?
Yes, what are the functions or kind of like the things in general that you kind of say, okay, let's abstract this away because it's just not helping with the experience of onboarding new DeFi, new user in DeFi?
Yeah, I mean, what you said, slippage and MEVs, I believe it's not necessary to understand for the average user or for the beginner how the backend works and to understand all the details about the MEVs, because indeed it's quite complex. And when you talk about and say, okay, it's front end, it's back end, and it runs like this, and it's a bot, basically, and they just take some assets, like, what? So I'm losing some money. It's actually more scaring them than resolving the issue. So I think it should be there just by default, protecting users so they don't need to pay money, basically, for slippage and for sandwich attacks and so on, but not necessarily they need to know all the details. It's the same as for the Web2 users. They don't know how the the backend of the Visa card works, how everything is running there. I mean, more details, of course, and maybe it's in slippage. It's good to know, but again, for the advanced users, for the average, it's not necessary at all, but it should be on place.
Yeah, I think like to follow up on this, like for example, this is very relevant for swaps. If you look at borrow and lending, also a lot of the UIs, they offer very fine tuning of borrow positions, but ultimately, if like for new users, it would be easier to offer them presets. You want this kind of loan or this kind of loan, right? And you just go and enable that, and then just borrow the way you want it. Same with LPing, right? You should have the ability to guide users to their choices, right? With defining risk profiles and this kind of stuff, because ultimately, most of them don't know, and most of them don't have the patience to know. And as an industry, if we get all the new users losing money, then we lose them, basically, because it's a bad first experience for them as well. So we really should be helping them, if not win money, at least make sure that they don't lose and that they feel confident in trying more as time goes.
Yeah, and I think we see like a lot of new apps that are trying to combine some and come up with some complex positions for user just to click one button and like put money there. So.
Yeah, my funny fact is I think centralized exchanges already kind of nail the experiences, right? They have always the basic one and the pro one. You see the Kraken, you see the Binance. I don't understand sometimes why, you know, very low kind of like level, like DeFi protocols are not able to provide a very kind of like, you know, like just basic experience and a pro. I think Uniswap came with like, I remember 2 years ago with the V2, they came out with another kind of like version pro or something where it included like slippage, and they had preloaded data. It was really interesting because you didn't want to know a lot of like those things. But I think when you're like going away from just swapping or trying to get loans and borrowing money, like when you start to do like DeFi like liquidations, even like going on restaking with ABSs, things are getting really like complicated. So what are the things that we should kind of like learn from, could be either centralized exchange or even Web2 kind of like user experience that you think we should kind of like implement also on kind of like basic DeFi protocol today? And please feel free to prepare some questions, guys, that we are almost on time here.
I mean, obviously, we are looking at traditional finance and then fintech companies probably, and just observing how people behave with money in the world. So if we can put it in the Apple Pay, Google Pay, so if I guess try and meet the users where they are already, and just maybe that's something that I would say that. We should do. Also on the front of things that are kind of happening is sorry, just wanted to So things such as I don't know, gas sponsorships is also something that I find very interesting because it can vary significantly, and it's good that you can now offer protocols and an ability to maybe abstract that away, and also if there is a switch of chain included as well, then multiplies the complexity even further. So if that can be out of the way in some sense for users, I guess. That's something. I mean, I just now ventured back to the Web3 world, and we were talking about kind of what maybe good examples elsewhere. But yeah, maybe that's something I would kind of point out and see.
Yeah, I think that like it's all part of the abstraction process. So we need more abstractions. So nobody knows. Like, okay, average neobank user doesn't know how it works under the hood. You just need to see the number and see the actions that you can take. And I think like the process of going maybe that way and hiding everything and abstracting all the things you can for the average user, but leaving the complex parts at place and not actually hiding anything is a way to go. but it's a hard way, and like I don't know, we're still in the middle of something right now.
I believe what Web 2 really mastered is simplicity, what we discussed already today, security, and regulations. So the regulations is something what is missing in Web 2 to have more users starting using. And I don't mean that we need to copy and paste from the Web 2. But what we need to do, we need to come up with our own regulation to still maintain this decentralization. Because if we will copy and paste, then we won't be decentralized any longer, and that the whole point will be lost, right? So we need to come up with the solutions which would serve us and users as well, so they can feel more secured and trust us. Because even today, I speak with some people who are outside of the Web 2, and when we talk about the transaction, for them, just an idea, that they can sign something or lose some money without having it back, as I said today, it's terrifying, right? So the security part is something what is super important for them, and also regulations, as I mentioned.
Yeah, I think there's two things, and there's one thing that we haven't tackled, I guess, in this chat. Like we talked about UIs and how we can improve things for users. But we also saw that UIs can unfortunately be deceptive and lead to exploits. We saw that recently. So there's also, I think, a lot of work that needs to be done with wallet providers, because ultimately they're the last rampart of security, right? So it also needs to, there also, I think, needs to be better communication between larger protocols probably at first, and then the smaller ones like standards, also on Lexicon, so that the wallets also have the ability to show to the user what is actually happening. So yes, ultimately on the UI, you want to just click deposit, right? Or swap or whatnot. But in the wallet, it should show you what's happening, and you should have the ability to basically reveal, right, the actual complexities that are happening there. In the same way, because you were asking about the UIs before, I think there are two yield products that came out recently. There's Tokamak that came out with their new Vault system, and I think they came up with a actually quite good UI. They do exactly what you were saying about abstracting the complexity of farming. You deposit. Most liquidity goes into Curve Pool, actually. A lot of it ends up also on Morpho Market and all these, but you just, as a user, you don't have to do the whole complexity of the strategy, and the benefits for the users and what it enables them to do becomes very, very clear. So I think we're going to see more of these apps that are built on top of the primitives that we have right now, and that make complex strategies extremely simple. But these also still need to be shown very clearly to users, and then it should also be shown very clearly at the wallet step. And at the same time, there's one thing that you touched a bit on as well about the security is we currently miss risk profiling for assets across the space. This is something that doesn't exist, and it's something that probably needs to start to exist as well, so that users can have an idea of this is an asset that is actually really safe. It's good to use. It has rating like Moody's and etc. So that I know that I can use that. I wouldn't say Moody's should do it. I would recommend Llama Risk because we like them and they're really good at assessing risk. But yeah, this also is something that should be clear in the UI. So this also would help users build trust, feel confident in what they're doing. And yeah.
Sounds good. We have 1 minute left. Any questions?
Hello. It looks like we are in cabin of the airplane, and a lot of buttons around, and we try to reduce the count of buttons, but maybe use like pilot, something like many sites already many sites grow from one function to many, and it's hard to navigate. And some of them start using assistant, AI assistant or it functional assistant, so different options. But sometimes it's very good, and you can verbose ask something to do, and it's working. Not all sites now great in this, but I think it's a good way to make operation easy. When you know what you want, and you can ask and not navigate through a lot of pages and so on. Because when you have a small amount of buttons, it's easy to make like 3 different page. But if you like Binance or something like this, or AirAsia or some aggregators, it's very hard to use one button if on the page if you have like 500. So assistants help a lot if you're not familiar with site, but you know exactly what you want to get. So maybe think in this way as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's what I mentioned with having integrated chatbots, right, in the UIs. That's exactly that. But perhaps to get to your analogy, planes fly, right, and not everyone needs to be the pilot.
Yeah.
But will they manage your portfolio for you? Will this chatbot do it?
Would you trust it?
That's basically, I think that's basically a question, the question of trust. Would you trust an AI agent using a Binance for you? And it's like not an easy one to answer. For me personally, no.
What the difference for you between interface and assistant from the same company?
I don't know anything about this I don't have any trust for let's say I don't trust it from day one. They need to earn my trust, and now it didn't happen yet. So.
Yeah, I think it's also a general question, right? Because I will break down in 2 things. First, what function you want the agent to do. So you define which function is what. And then trust is based on attestation, right? It's based on past performances. And obviously you want to have attestation that are also on chain. There is already things that are happening, Verax, EAs, they are actually already having public attestation of previous track record in agency. But agentic system on production, there may be 1 or 2 right now. You have what Gainsio is doing is 1.5 months is actually doing DeFi, and I mean performance-wise is there, right? But 1.5 months is still on production is quite low. But I mean, I think trust is also based on the performance and also publishing on chain performances, past performances.
I mean, just maybe short for an AI assistant to go through your documentation and just make some sense out of it and tell you the differences between some protocols. If you want to chat with an AI assistant and learn something, sure, maybe, or to maybe lay down the risks and stuff like that. If it can pull that from you, but to manage a huge portfolio to try convincing a whale to offload that responsibility to an AI, I'm sure that it's not there yet. I don't know if it will be, maybe, but yeah, at the moment I don't see it. Just I wouldn't trust it at the moment, honestly.
Let's do one last question. I think I saw someone raising their hands. We good to go?
Hey, I liked your suggestion of having risk assessments for assets, but we as an industry don't seem to be able to agree on anything, so who will make the rules then?
It's a tough one, right? We had Token Price that was here before that was doing some sort of assessment on decentralizations protocols. We have L2Beat, right, that also does that for layer 2s. I guess as an industry, right, we still manage to go after scammers, right? We still manage to somehow self-regulate and cut out bad actors that are nefarious to the space, right? They're playing the game, but in a way that could harm more people than it could actually benefit people. I guess we're all here also because we believe in the power and how it can enable people to do more, right? All this Web3 stuff. So ultimately, I think it would be interesting to have independent organizations, perhaps that are funded by different protocols that can tackle doing this as a public good in a way. There shouldn't be only one, there should be several ones. And that then they can actually help us and help users also assess the risk of assets, but also of markets, right? Lending market on Morpho can be more risky than another, or not a protocol per se, but or on Curve, a lending market could also be more risky than another. So just helping them assess not the risk as in a fixed value, right? But risk is, it depends on your profile, basically. So there are different types of risk, right? Some people, they really care about decentralization, so they would never use USDC. Some people, they don't care, so they only use USDC, right? But they actually care about having redemption at all times, right? Which other coins that have full decentralization perhaps don't allow in the same way. So it depends, right? And has to be shown somehow in the UIs and accessible in a way. I don't have a clear answer, but I feel it's really a step towards building more trust and reducing risk for users.
Okay, I think we're good to go. Big round of applause for everyone here. Thanks so much, guys.